And let's go to the fifth letter. Alright, buckle up for the fifth letter, where Screwtape shows a demonic hissy fit over it. War. Remember, our patient is living through a war, and Wormwood is ecstatic about the chaos and potential for damnation. But Screwtape ever the strategy sees war as double-edged sword. War, what is it good for? Well, according to Wormwood, it's basically a demonic buffet of fear, hatred, and moral decay, perfect for tempting humans away from the enemy. His picture our patient getting swept up in the patriotic fervor, losing himself in the violence and abandoning all thoughts of faith and goodness. As Screwtape says, war is a great facilitator of blasphemy. It is on the battlefield that men blaspheme with sincerity that they would never achieve in their drawing rooms. But Screwtape, ever the cold logician, sees through Wormwood's enthusiasm. He warns him that war is just likely to push people towards the enemy. We're talking about their enemy, God, as it's towards hell. The suffering, the loss, the questioning of everything, it can all lead to desperate search for meaning and comfort, often found in faith and prayer. So what happened here actually is, yung war daw, it is not bringing these people apart from the Lord, but it's more of people, because of the war, they actually grow closer to the Lord because they need someone who will comfort them. They need more faith and they will go prayer. So that's the reason why this war might be not good for Screwtape. Imagine our patient witnessing the horrors of war firsthand. He sees the bravery and selflessness of his comrades, but also the senseless destruction and suffering. It's enough to make anyone question everything they thought they knew about good and evil and seek answer beyond the battlefield. So the next time someone tells you war is glorious or necessary evil, remember Screwtape's word: war may be a tool for temptation, but it's also a crucible for faith. It can force us to confront our deepest fears, questions our values, and search for meaning in the darkest of times. Remember our friend from the corporate ladder? When his world crumbled around him, he found solace not in the accolades of his career, but in the quiet strength of his faith. He realized that real battle wasn't on some distant battlefield, but within himself. A battle against the demons of doubts, fear, and despair. Just imagine this. If you're too busy with your work, if you're too busy with your career, if you're too busy with your love life, if you're too busy grinding and so on, the question is, what if war breaks out? You cannot work. You cannot go to your lovey-dovey. Right? Hindi mo na magagawa yan. Why? Kasi you are confined. You cannot go out. You're fearful. Alam ko hindi pa naman siya nangyayari, but go with something that is more important right now. And that is your faith to God. That is your relationship to God. Moving on to our sixth letter. Buckle up, because Screwtape's sixth letter is all about anxiety, that pesky little demon, figuratively and literally, that can cripple our faith and keep us from living our best life. Remember, our patient is still caught up in the clutches of war, and Wormwood is gleefully exploiting his fear and uncertainty. But Screwtape, the master strategist, sees a bigger game here. The world is a scary place, folks. War, pandemics, even that looming deadline at work. There's always something to make anxious, to fill our minds with what ifs and maybe. And Wormwood, ever the opportunistic fiend, loves nothing more than to fuel those anxieties, turning them into a weapon against our own peace and faith. As Screwtape says, the enemy wants men to be concerned with what they do or business is to keep them thinking about what will happen to them. Screwtape, however, knows that simply amplifying anxiety isn't enough. He wants to make them paralyzing, to convince our patient that the future is nothing but a dark abyss of potential disaster. He encouraged Wormwood to create scenarios to twist every possibility into a horrifying outcome, keeping the patient so fixated on the what ifs that they forget to live in the present or seek solace in faith. Imagine our patient bombarded with news of casualties, worried about his loved ones, and haunted by the fear of the unknown. It's enough to make anyone to feel powerless, to abandon any hope of control or meaning, and to fall into trap of despair. But wait, folks, there's good news. Anxiety doesn't have to be our master. We can learn to manage it, to acknowledge its presence without letting it control us. It's about remembering that the present moment is all we truly have, and that faith can offer a steady anchor in the stormiest of times. Remember our friend from the corporate ladder? When anxiety threatened to consume him, he found solace in simple things: a walk in nature, a quiet conversation with a friend, or a moment of mindful breathing. He learned that trusting in the present, accepting the unknown, and finding his inner strength were far more powerful weapons against anxiety than any corporate ladder could ever be.